Greetings. We're 24 hours away from the sophomore episode of Silicon Valley Comic Con. 2017, and tomorrow we will, Kal Kat actually will just be on hand for the convention and covering it, and we will have tomorrow probably evening opening thing sneak preview. William Shatner, yes, Captain Kirk, William Shatner. We will go. I will go see William Shatner. Haven't seen him in many years live. I'm gonna go see him, so that'll be cool. So the next day will be all of the Next Generation cast. So yeah, so Saturday, and everyone else and down in the dealer room and all that stuff. So Kal Kat at Silicon Valley Comic Con, formerly called the Big Wow Comic Fest. It's now called Silicon Valley Comic Con. It's the Big Wow Comic Fest. Yeah, we're back. We weren't there last year. We did go to Fanime last year. And this year we're going to Fanime too. So, yeah. Instead of Baycon. They basically transformed this into what Baycon used to be. But it was cool. So, yes. And yes, I'm sure they will be a sneak preview of Starship Locations, the game. Yeah. You get to talk to the actual producer creator of the game. Kal Kat will be there, and Mark's Cards will not, but he's on board with it, yes. So, yes, there was no filming tonight. He was busy, so there's no filming. Yes, I still worked very late, and so all we really talked about was nothing to do with the convention, a little bit of the convention. But yeah, and tomorrow we start the thing. In the evening. Greetings, Captain. This is a Comic-Con Silicon Valley recap of day 1, Friday night. So you're going to see the recap, and this is the version for YouTube where I get to talk over what's being played in the background and watch it. So I'm going to start playing that footage from Friday night. Now, first we have some footage in front of San Jose State, where that's alma mater, San Jose State. We walked by that. Now we're at the convention center, the McHenry Convention Center for Silicon Valley Comic Con. It's not Comic Con, it's Silicon Valley Comic Con. It's trying to be Comic-Con. So we're going to go in. Greetings and welcome to day 1 of San Jose Silicon Valley Comic-Con. This is Kal Kat, your host, and I'm on set here at Convention Center, McHenry Convention Center. And I'm going to check things out. And then I'm going to go see William Shatner because, of course, I'm going to go see William Shatner. Then we come to some of the dealers, the showroom area, showing a very fast pan of the showroom area, and another one of the showroom area. This is just to illustrate what's going on. There was some music playing in the background, so we want to take out all the audio here. So there was, to start off with, probably maybe 60 people wandering up and down the halls in there. They had spread it out more than at the other ones. And there weren't as many dealers and tables, but this is Friday, so not everybody arrived yet. They had a celebrity area in the middle. I went around the whole thing and did other things for the show. What's going on? The visuals of me doesn't matter too much. I got some footage of some characters from various programs. And what you're looking at is basically just wandering around the dealer's room, which looks like a car dealership. It has lots of cars and things within it. Interesting. There's the Back to the Future stuff, including the DeLorean and the truck. Back to the Future. The truck is there too. So you get to see that. Again, there was music in the background. It wasn't from Back to the Future, but there was other stuff, ambient noise. So you're going to get this. Oh, I'm aiming the phone at me, and hello. And I was in the dealer's room, and it is about 15 minutes to showtime of the Shatner thing. So I'm going to the Shatner thing. I bet they're not going to let me film in there. So I'm just going to go in there and go to Shatner. And later on, we're going to see other celebrities and guests and things like that. It'll be really cool. So here we are at Silicon Valley Comic Con, the commercial for the convention. I am not being paid. I'm just here, so. And then we're in the auditorium waiting for the Shatner thing. There was definitely music playing. This is the Civic. It's called the Civic. It's weird that it's called the Civic, but there it is. City Civic Center or whatever. That's kind of redundant. William Shatner went on stage and was talking, and along came Wozniak, and he was talking. And Wozniak is one of the people running the show, and he's got a green armband like the regular folks that go to the show, even though he doesn't really need one because he's running it. We may get some sort of a cameo by Mr. Wozniak. That'd be cool. This finish the William Shatner thing. I'll tell you about it later, but I'm going to catch the train, and tomorrow at the comic convention. So it was awesome. And then after the Shatner thing, I go into what that was cool that I was at the Shatner thing. I really don't say much about the Shatner events, but I will follow this slideshow with actually what happened. Yes. San Jose Comic Con, Silicon Valley, Friday night. Set. Friday evening. The opportunity to go to the Comic Con, this convention, a day early to go on Friday. I paid for the whole weekend, so I'm going to do everything. I went for the 3 hours. That was the opening up of the thing, sophomore year of the thing. Last year they started at freshman, but I was not there. I could not afford it last year. And we couldn't get Mark's cards on board last year. We couldn't get him on board this year either, so he's not there. He probably won't be at Fanime either. But we are going to Fanime, I'm going to Fanime. Okay, so yeah, I went to the dealer's room. It was slightly disappointing in that, but it was Friday night, and maybe they hadn't put everybody out yet. The horror hosts were not there. Maybe they decided not to come. I don't know. They weren't on the venue though, so maybe they weren't going to come. Maybe they're somewhere else. I'm going to look all that up when I look at the schedule tomorrow and see more of that. The expected return of the TNG cast is tomorrow. We'll see all of the Next Generation cast. And again, they film with music in the background and all that stuff, so we can't actually, in order to post this anywhere, we have to kind of cut out everything they're saying. Fortunately, I do remember a lot of what William Shatner said and can relay what he actually said. Some people asked some pertinent questions that were answered definitively by William Shatner. Yes, the first burning question in everyone's mind, which was asked twice in two different ways by two different people, will Shatner be in the new Abrams Star Trek movies at all? Will he be in Part 4, maybe? Or will he be at all in it? Although Bill Shatner is not opposed to being in future Star Trek movies, he did point out that he is very old, and that even if they did a time travel story, it's kind of ridiculous. So he said, well, it would be kind of silly if, they shoehorned it in there and retconned it so that somehow he'd be there. He's 86 years old. It made sense that Nimoy appeared because he's a Vulcan and he's like supposed to be long-lived or something. But Shatner showing up would be kind of... They would have to spend the whole movie explaining that. Wozniak also implied that because he got up there when one of them asked the question too. But yeah, that would be kind of awkward. And one of the fans asked the same kind of question and said, well, why can't he go back in time and fix the Abrams verse so it doesn't happen and have old Shatner show up? He didn't want to answer that because that is a really kind of a lame idea. So he just kind of said, I'm going to ask you about your costume instead. He was wearing a Robin costume with glasses. And he just didn't want to answer the question. So yeah, that idea has been flipped around on many websites. So it wasn't just this one person that said it. It's not a good idea, basically. He didn't like it. He thought it was lame. But yeah, many fans didn't like Generations when Shatner's character of Kirk was killed. And they want to sort of retcon it out with the new Abrams movies. Even Kal Kat has done stories where he goes into the Nexus and brings him back. But they're not going to do that on film. Only fan film, that's fine. Do that in a fan film. Shatner himself is not going to do it. Shatner impersonators, like Mr. Brian from our movie, yeah, he's going to. But not Shatner himself, no. Impersonators, yes. So no, it's not in Star Trek 4. Sorry. Other Shatner question. Other deep Shatner question. Somebody compared the Wrath of Khan death scene, I think it's the same guy, to the actual death of Leonard Nimoy. That was a little weird, and Shatner pointed that out. That was a little weird. That's two questions. And so he said, well, the Wrath of Khan's a movie, and he liked working with Ricardo Montalban, who was already kind of a mess because of a horse riding accident. He was already in a wheelchair, similar to Christopher Reeve, but less damaged than Christopher Reeve was another actor who was also hurt in a horse accident. And someone else brought up Kaylee Kuko, who was hurt a little bit in a horse riding accident, broke a leg. Shatner had once broken a leg in a horse riding accident. He mentioned how Kaylee Kuko was good at jumping horses, horseback. She's the actress from Big Bang Theory. No, she's not crippled or in a wheelchair. She just broke a leg, and they had to work around it in the script. In one of the early episodes of Big Bang Theory, apparently Shatner had a cameo at one point on Big Bang Theory. I look forward. I think that's got to be next season. Season that just happened. I think he had a cameo because he was talking about it like he met her. Maybe he didn't, but maybe he did. So Nimoy comes in and goes, this is during the show. It's years ago. And he goes, this is like years ago when they were actually on the show together. And he goes in and this is on the set. Yeah, this is not now. This is like many years ago. You know, he told a story about somebody asked him about his pranks. The prank about Leonard Nimoy's bicycle. He told a story from like years ago. He's told that at the last convention 23 years ago when I saw him last. And very on fire, very excited to tell this joke about the prank with the bicycle. You can look that up online. It's the one where Nimoy's bike keeps disappearing. First he gets padlocked, and because he wanted to get to the commissary first. Then it gets stolen and put in Shatner's dressing room with Shatner's dog guarding it. Dog tried to bite him. Nimoy tried to get it back. Then he took the bike and he went to the lighting rigging guys at the studio and he said, put this up in the lighting. And he's like, in the 60s. And so they were working together and he kept stealing his bike. So, it's in his book. So go find the Shatner book, read about it. But yeah, so he had the bike. The last thing he did was put it in the lighting rigging. And he goes, hey, Nimoy, look up there. It's like, Bill, But yeah, so that's Shatner stuff. But let's see, what else was the other burning questions? Oh yes, the Spock. Some fans were mad that Shatner did not go to Nimoy's funeral, that he had a charity event going on at the same time, which are planned in advance, mind you. And I think, I think it's fine that he didn't go to the funeral because he made up for it afterward. He's in his charity event. It may seem a little kind of peckish of him, but that's what he did. So, but here he said, oh yeah, Nimoy was like a brother to him and friend and all that, and he really misses him. And I think he was earnestly saying that. It wasn't like he got Wozniak up there, and the two of them were talking about quantum physics and how Shatner had ripped Neil deGrasse Tyson, or stumped him, I guess you'd say. More like stumped him. on physics and stuff. He said, "Oh, you just made that up, didn't you?" Oh, because it's like science fiction, but it's not. Which isn't really stumping him. It's sort of just saying, "I don't agree with you," but it's Shatner. What are you gonna do? Shatner, Bill Shatner. Anyway, so that was this thing. Anyway, so that was a big event tonight. Bill Shatner returns. Yes. What's there? Any other burning Shatner questions? Oh yes, he mentioned the horse riding and the horse racing and the other stuff. Any charity events and things. Wozniak mentioned that he had taught 5th grade for a while just to do it because he thought that would be cool. Funny 5th grade story, actually. When I was in 5th grade, guess who came to our school? Wozniak and Jobs. That's right. The guys that would be the future Apple computer guys showed up. I met them. I doubt he's going to remember it, but so he had a thing for going to 5th grade classes, hanging out. So going to meeting them and stuff. Yeah, so 80, 81, 82, somewhere around there. 1982, but he's 35 years ago. And he showed up, and he was very animated and charismatic. It was the guy that I met years ago. Had a beard back then. One of them did. But yeah, they were plugging the Apple One and then the Apple II. And we bought an Apple IIe, which we had for many years. Also, my sister had a Mac at one point, and a Power Mac. We still use Apple iPhones. We used Apple iPhone to record. I used Apple iPhone to record the footage as well. And the audio wouldn't have been good anyway. It would have sucked. So I just wrote over it. Yeah, because it's a phone camera. Video looks good, but the audio is. You gotta have a mic on the guy. It was fine in the studio. You could hear it in the Civic Theater. The Civic City Civic. Goofy name. City Theaters too. I saw an opera in there once. Così fan tutte or something. Years ago. So it was a strange opera. Yeah, and I believe we saw Sweeney Todd in there. That was where that was. But yeah, I've seen a couple of things in there. Yeah, when there was a play. It was a play before it was a movie. But yeah, so yeah, there you go. Celebrity table included some classic celebrities from TV and movies and such. Shows I've heard of, but I just didn't get around to seeing them. Part of the issue with filming them, of course, even with a cell phone, with an iPhone, is you're going to get in trouble. They want the pictures to be official, so they don't want to get in trouble, get kicked out of the convention. So that's why you don't see any of that. But yeah, the Nichelle Nichols was there, but of course couldn't film it. Maybe tomorrow or the next day, you might say, "All right, you can film this part." But or Shatner, Bill Shatner. And no, I did not ask him about what he would think of a fan film where he was the savior of the entire universe. I didn't ask him that yet. It'd be funny if I did. See what he said. He'd probably go, "What? That's kind of silly." But of course, he would save the universe. He would be like Q. Now, if he says that would be awesome. So, of course, he would save the universe. He's Captain Kirk. But maybe he wouldn't, because he even denied, he said, "I'm not in the next Star Trek." So he probably wouldn't. He'd say, "What? No, I wouldn't do that. That's silly." But he apparently did have some intestinal issues that he was complaining about. But he's old, so, But anyway, so yeah, and he talked about Boston Legal and working with James Spader. And then he enjoyed that, and somebody mentioned Boston Legal and this bedroom scene and some other scenes. There were several of those. He was having a lot of senior moments, but at least he was joking about that. And he said that there's a new movie story he's working on, TV movie probably, called Senior Moment. In the movie in Boston Legal, on the TV show, he played a guy with Alzheimer's, which is like Jimmy Doohan, one of his co-stars, had. He doesn't have Alzheimer's, but he's just bizarre. But he was playing that kind of a character, so that's cool. And, Boston Legal was an interesting show. It was a spin-off of a previous show, and it was more successful than the original. And the people that did Boston Legal went on to try and do a Wonder Woman pilot, which utterly failed because they made her a lawyer, and it's like, no. Want to do Boston Legal 3? Do Boston Legal 3. That's fine. I don't know that Chuck Lorre, and I think they went on to do Big Bang Theory. I think they helped on that, and Mad Men and stuff. But yeah, don't quote me on that. Anyway, so there's so he liked working with Montalban and Nimoy, Mrs. Was unfortunately he could not go to the funeral. That's it. There's my recap of the first night. This is a recap of San Jose Silicon Valley Comic-Con Day 2. Comic-Con Day 2 started out bizarrely lovely on the light rail train, in which the train conductor informed everyone on the train that that's a sort of a light rail trolley, that the train was going to be stopped because on the heading road, several stops down, a vehicle apparently crashed into the train. A car. So the train stopped at 2 other stops and then stopped, and then we got out, and then a bus picked us up, loaded us into this bus like sardines, and we began going down the road. The driver was amenable to driving us all the way to the convention center, because that's where everybody was headed. Some of them were, I don't think anybody except maybe for one other was a Star Trek person. But most of them were like convention goers with the convention. And we passed by the heading road where the tow truck was, and they were leading away this sort of greenish bluish car that looked like it was the passenger side was completely smashed in, and apparently had been completely hit by the oncoming train going the other direction. I'm not sure why they thought they could run the tracks. Maybe they saw that Fast and the Furious 8 and thought they could do that. In fact, all today, going there and coming back, cars have been trying to imitate that dang movie. Other sports cars and things like that have been trying to do that. In the city, in the town, on the road, it's insane. They're just, people do not know how to drive. This is a review of Silicon Valley Comic-Con, Day 2. I already included the rant about the drivers being idiots. Now we cut to the convention itself. Yes, this is Day 2 of the convention. There was I didn't get any footage of it, but there was an auto accident on heading, and the side of a car was crunched in, and it was decimated. Well, not decimated, but damaged. So yeah, I'm here. Here's the block of the convention. I'm going over there. Yeah. So, what this is I've discussed the convention throughout. So what this is going to be is just the slideshow coverage, because the slideshow is much shorter than what I talked about in the recap. This is the slideshow. I'm going to start playing the slideshow. All right, now we're at the convention, and here is Deadpool, and there were a number of Deadpools. He's got a rubber chicken, and didn't look like there was as many people, but it was a little early. There were quite a lot of people, actually. They were all going to go over to the next gen thing across the street. And so that's where they all were. There was like 20,000. It was huge attendance. So in the theater we have a packed house, pretty much. There were a few empty seats here and there, and it begins with their arrival. The arrival of most of the Next Gen cast, mainly the ladies from the Next Gen cast. Marina Sirtis, Denise Crosby, and Gates McFadden. And we also had Jonathan Frakes and Brent Spiner, and William Shatner was the host. And it was funny. I discussed it a little later. So there was really nothing more to add about the discussion. It was a lot funnier than the serious commentary earlier led on. There was some good humor and jokes and interplay, of which would be difficult to reproduce in a slideshow recap, because really, some people most likely recorded this, and if you want to go to the Comic-Con website, they got permission to actually film this. Go and watch it there. This is just my review, which doesn't include any copyrighted footage. Just video, not audio. So, yeah, I couldn't actually get permission to record them. This is surreptitious. So, yes, but video was fine. And actually, some of the video didn't work because there's a little device out there that apparently kills some of the signals if they record too much of the audio, which is very clever, but it only works on Apple products. Very interesting. So there's very little of the actual in concert footage because of that. So an Apple device. They had fun. They had chemistry. They joked about the jiu-jitsu. That was not in the recap. There was a joke about jiu-jitsu. Frakes and Crosby training some jiu-jitsu and getting their butt kicks every time their butts kicked. That was one thing they mentioned that is not in the other getting their butts kicked by the jiu-jitsu master. Anyway, so nobody said anything untoward, not like years ago when one of them did. One of them asked the same question twice, and there was another question about the Borg, and well, they don't control whether a story is written. They did encourage him to write a fan fiction about it, which was nice. So fine, write a fan fiction about the Borg. Anyway, we are coming to the end of what actually was recorded, and we're going to go on to the rest of the con. And the convention, as you can see, that's where everybody was. They were in there. Now they're on their way out. I'll just put this kind of obvious. I really don't need to comment on this part, but. So this is day 2 of Silicon Valley Comic-Con coverage. It is already starting to be covered on the web on other channels. So we will upload day 1 and day 2 this evening. So you get to see that, and then day 3 will follow up tomorrow on the Kal Kat channel. The festivities tonight, today included a long session with the Next Generation cast members, including Robert O'Reilly, who was a Klingon, Marina Sirtis, Denise Crosby, Jonathan Frakes and Brent Spiner, and Gates McFadden. Several of the cast members of Next Generation, and William Shatner was the host. So even though William Shatner was only in one of the TNG movies, and they killed him in that one, there they were, the TNG movies. There was a lot to digest about all of what they talked about, and you can certainly put this audio over where they're talking because we can't show any of where they're talking. So do that. They made jokes and witticisms about being on the show. They had political views that they went into. They did other things. Many of them are liberal, so they went into that. But also, in this day and age, political climate being Earth Day and all that, they mentioned that. Even the conservatives have to admit they screwed up big time. They elected Donald Trump. They have to admit that. Anyway, so they continued with the KM thread kind of thing. like as they call it in Trek Core, the Kobayashi Maru, no one scenario thread. I did not think of that. That's stolen from Trek Core. Chimera 82405. Yes. So anyway, so that's the channel. That's me. Anyway, so now you get to see who that is. Yeah, Kal Kat. It's not like it was a secret. I mention it frequently on the channel. So Chimera, and yeah, so the cast was out there doing their spiel. Brent Spiner had a great time telling jokes about what happened on the set and what happened at the conventions, including Brent Spiner joked about having a bunch of his action figures in a car out back that he was selling, hawking. I don't think he did, but yeah, there was this convention did not have somebody asking about Jean-Luc's sperm, but it would have been interesting if it had. So we had also Marina Sirtis talking about liking London, England quite a bit better than anywhere else because she's from there, and also not liking that Americans call what amounts to handball football when football is what we call soccer. Football should be played with a football that you actually kick. You only kick it once. That's true. You pass it mostly. American football. And then one of the fans mentioned, what about the tackling and all that other stuff and the points and all that? And she's all, that's rugby. That was funny. It's true. It's rugby. That's different. That's more like American football, actually, rugby. But yes, there was a British fan who asked about her had a boy who didn't have much of an accent. She encouraged him to have an accent again. There was any number of odd choices there with characters. Let's see what else. Jonathan Frakes talked about pranking and stuff on the set. He talked about a fan asked about whether they did anything funny to cast members that weren't there. They said that Patrick Stewart wasn't there because he didn't want to be there with Shatner. I don't know if that's true. I think it's just being silly. One of them is, I think Dorn is on Broadway and LeVar Burton is on a TV show, directing a TV show. Yeah. So Shatner mentioned the horseback riding and stuff like that, and again, and let's see what else. Denise Crosby and Marina Sirtis both discussed how they got their first gig on the show. There was some fan confusion, which I already knew about, from having seen them before, having seen Marina Sirtis many times before, and having seen Gates McFadden once, and having seen Jonathan Frakes at least twice, and Shatner twice, years ago, that when they do a casting call for a television show, they have them read several different parts, and it's not up to the cast person what parts they're reading for. That isn't the case. That is the case with amateur productions as well. But yes, Crosby and Sirtis and McFadden, who was the doctor, read for all three of the ladies' parts. All three of them did, and they were. So they kept switching and asking him to read for different lines, and they wanted Troy to be Scandinavian apparently at some point, and she's all, that's kind of silly. I mean, the other girl that rehearsed, she was Denise there, she's Scandinavian sort of looking. Yeah, but her, so they kind of just switched off, and then the production people didn't listen to them, and I guess, but after a while they just decided on their own, okay, we thought of it, Yars should be the Scandinavian one, and Troy should be the other, the Greek looking one, yeah. Marina Sirtis should be Troy, the Greek-looking one, yeah. So that was kind of funny. So yeah, it was not up in the cards for the actors to decide that kind of stuff. So let's see, what do we got? Anybody else left? Let me think here. All right. Okay, they went into politics at one point. One of the guys was joking. A fan asked about the origin of the Borg, and they went on. Somehow it devolved into the Orange Borg, played by President Donald Trump, and the Orange Borg. It was Brent Spiner who thought that up, and of course, and we had them going off on a tangent about the Orange Borg, and orange is the new black, and even though Kate Mulgrew wasn't there from Orange is the New Black, but they went on anyway. Yeah, so that was funny. So anyway, continue with my face looking all blaringly white. Let's go habit. I look less like Jean-Luc Picard. Oh, number one. So let's see the politics and stuff. Yeah, they talked about Earth Day and about the politicians burying their heads in the sand, even though there is such a thing as global warming. It's destroying everything. Yes, and it won't bother them because they'll be dead by the time it destroys everything. They'll be rich and out there somewhere else, and all their children will have to deal with it. That's awfully nice of them. Yeah, so also they talked about the refugee problem, which was, the Syrian refugees all over the world problem. We won't take them in the U.S. because the government are jerks. It's not the audience's fault. They would have taken them in. But yeah, so they were going on a tangent. They were definitely in Kobayashi Maru territory there. And although, yeah, it's Earth Day, so I guess they had to bring that up. But in terms of fun stuff, they brought up a fan asked about the Data and Crusher dancing scene, Crusher, the Doctor and Data dancing, and scene, and it turns out that I knew this from the convention when they talked about it last time I saw them, many years ago, that during the dance numbers where they showed the close-up of the feet dancing fast, and the other guy, that wasn't Data, it was a stunt double who actually knew how to dance. And all the scenes where they showed him doing the dancing, he wasn't actually doing any of it. It was a stunt double, and when they would show him moving his upper body, it was him moving his upper body, but he wasn't actually doing anything, which is funny. And when there was a distant shot, it was him doing a little bit of it, and then they would show a close-up of the stunt double's feet. So yeah, they faked virtually all of that. So yeah, but that's Hollywood. That's what they do in Hollywood. So yeah, it's sort of like that flute that Picard had that didn't actually play. Somebody bid on it at the Christie's auction, and for thousands of dollars for a flute that doesn't play, as Patrick Stewart said. Yes, yeah, they didn't mention the flute. I just thought I would mention it. That was one of those things that was was a prop and not real. It was the magic of the movies, so to speak. They talked about gargoyles and bringing it back. Somebody's starting a Kickstarter to bring back gargoyles. And I don't know how much of it is just them talking because they're actors, but Gates McFadden and Denise Crosby were not in it, and they're all, why weren't we in it? I suppose if they start a new one, we'll be on board. So excellent. So if they do a Gargoyles reunion, why not include Tasha Yar's character somewhere, Denise Crosby and Dr. Crusher? That'd be cool. Sure, why not? So yeah, I'm on board with that. Yeah, so let's see. It probably gets us to the end of the long period with the 30th anniversary Star Trek people, and even though you're going to see bits and pieces of that, and then bits and pieces of me rambling and other things. Yeah, because I couldn't use the audio in the room. Most of this I can't use the audio, so I'm just going to go through the other stuff and add on to it. And that's going to be, I guess, this portion or something. A swoop pan. I don't know what I'm doing there. It's more people than right. the Trump rally in Washington, D.C. Okay, I made a joke that there's more people there than at I meant the inauguration of Trump. Yeah. There was a rally in San Jose, actually, and the about Trump, and the Kal Kat show was slated to go to the Trump rally and cover it. But apparently riots the day before kind of for the producer said, no, you can't go to, no, don't do that, you're going to get killed. And so we didn't go. But it was going to happen. So yeah, here we are in the dealer's room where there was some music and ambient music playing in the background. I feel that the dealer's room, even though everyone is having fun, would have recorded the ambient music and things would have gotten a little hairy. For instance, my fan films of the in my fan. Well, I'm not famous, but in fan films, it's the same thing. And what do you do when you're casting your fan film, and you have what do you do when you're casting your fan film and you have not enough people? Then you end up playing everybody, not because you're like narcissistic, well, of course, like William Shatner, but because you don't have enough people, and you end up having your sci-fi movie be where you're playing not only the badass villain, but you're playing like 3 different guys, and you're also playing the hot chick. So, but you have a beard, so you got to improvise. So instead of shaving the beard, which would have made sense, I just put a veil over his face and said, he's got a shave the beard off. It still looks stupid, but you know, that's what you do when you're doing amateur productions. And then you get your friend Mark's Cards to play the other girl that's the love interest of him, because you want him to play the captain, but you don't want to be the love interest of him. That would look a little odd. It was 1990, 91, and back then you didn't do stuff like that. So you cast him as his girlfriend as well. So that creates all kinds of weird can of worms there. And he gets to play his girlfriend. But yes, and we were not SAG. So that's Screen Actors Guild. Not. So that's what you do when you're an amateur acting and you don't have enough cast and can't get girls. You just get yourselves. Also, I played the coxic Worf type character Thompson because our friend Jim refused to play him, based on he's got to act opposite the jerk guy and tell him off. I can't do that. And he really couldn't. He couldn't have done it. So we had him be other characters that had less lines and not be Thompson. Although I'm basically playing him, playing Jim, Jim Chacon. Yeah, so in that film, I don't know why I'm going off a tangent about Starcrackers, but I thought that would be fun. That's what it's called. Fans of Starcrackers. I'm gonna hawk. It's on this channel, so cool. Anyway, but in real Hollywood, you don't have to obsess over your fan film. Yeah. So, and you don't have to. You can get real cast members, but I just decided to throw that out there that I was in a fan film. We can talk more about fan films in a bit. I won't put this part over the Absurdist talk because it's a tangent. I'll put it after it. Anyway, so I'm mentioning the TimeCon conventions of the 90s, of which I went to one of them, someone from Evergreen, years ago, and he didn't mention what happened at that convention. That was bizarre. There was a TimeCon convention in late 94, in which one of the Trek fan ladies got up to the stage. This is like years ago in the 90s, the wacky 90s. And this lady gets up at the convention and she's all like, Mr. Spiner, can you get me a sample of Jean-Luc's sperm? And she was kind of serious. And he's like, no. He started laughing. He thought it was a joke. And I think she wanted some of Jean-Luc's actual. Anywho. So we got some interesting costumes. A lot of Star Trek, because there were Star Trek people, which is different from last time. A lot of interesting characters, cast moving around. A lot of artwork stuff. Didn't really buy much of anything. Tomorrow, I probably will. Here we have creative costumes and creative people. It seemed that some people were not very observant. They were asking questions about creativity in media and stuff like that. some of the questions in the space lecture. I did go to one of the panels. I was in the space lecture on SETI and finding intelligent alien life. The Trek fans in the room were kind of disappointed because it was not about the Klingons and the Vulcans, which are fantasy, but about actually finding life forms on Mars with space probes for real. Yeah. Of course, they did throw in the Trekkie caveat after the show that to one of the guys, it wasn't Shostak, it was someone else. And I told them that, maybe the aliens are there and they have a prime directive. And the prime directive states don't mess with a pre-warp culture like humanity. You got a kick out of that. I was obviously kind of kidding. But I suppose it's kind of a true thing. I mean, what if aliens recognize that humans are extremely immature and warlike, and they figure, well, if we go there, we're probably going to have to deal with all their drama, so let's not, They're probably passing them by, like waving. Which I do address in one of my science fiction stories, Distant Destinies, coming later this year. Back to production. So yes, and of course the starship locations and all that other stuff. Starcrackers that I mentioned. It was a fan film. It's also storybooks. Also coming cards. And yeah, so yeah, I didn't mention that at the convention because they wouldn't know who I was. But I did plug reviewing my channel of the No Peace Monster, which I did, and Robert Burrell approved. So yes, and he gave editing advice on the editing of the channel video, which I then put the video back up with the edits done. So anyway, well yeah, so here we are walking around the show, the convention, and seeing all the colorful characters, and it totally, there's some Iron Men. It totally proves that they do reproduce. We Fandork nerds do reproduce. I didn't, but a lot of them, they did. That, I actually know what that is. That is the blue Scarab Man from New Teen Titans. Anyway, that's already passed. But yes, so here we have some more convention stuff. There was a sign up that said cosplay is not consent, referring to lecherous, like socially awkward men who might pick up on costume-clad women. I have not actually encountered that this time. There was one convention in which it was such an issue they brought up it in a panel. But I don't think here they did. I think they're a little more sensible, a lot of them from out of town and stuff. And also the president kind of leches, so the president as in of the country, so they've dialed it back, to make them look worse on the Republican side. But no, lecturing is not cool, and no, they don't deserve to be mocked, made fun of, just because they're wearing a costume. I'll have you know that at one of those fanime conventions, someone smacked my ass. And it's too bad that I didn't see who it was. Oh my. See, that's the difference, you see. It wouldn't work the other way around. Not going around smacking other people's ass. Not going to do that. And if a dude smacks my ass, it's different.
So I'm going to lunch.
So, yes, I went to the pizza place. Pizza My Heart near San Jose State.
Footage out here on the street.
I decided not to. Yeah, I decided to do the recap at home because it didn't make sense.
Around the other way.
Yeah. There's a few gonks in there, but I'm gonna leave them. Yeah. But yeah. So back at the con, we get to see the Charizard. Finally, got the Charizard on film. Coming up to the Charizard pretty soon. Oh, those are Guardians of the Galaxy, but we do come up to the Charizard. And finally got the Charizard. May not be the former Chimera character who worked on some of the set ideas for the Chimera movie many years ago. It may not be her, it may be her friend, but it's still definitely there. There they are. There's the Charizard. There's your moment of zen, as they say on Roger Stewart's show. Jon Stewart. The Charizard. And the Star Trek crew. I sat next to the guy with playing Picard during the convention thing. And the other one got into her Star Trek outfit and came back down. She was there too. So yeah, so cool. Some Star Wars a little bit later on, and Star Wars the 505th, those guys. They are friends of the stories from the Chimera role-playing game. But because it's Star Wars, they're not interested in the Chimera role-playing game. Because it's not about Star Wars. Star Trek, what's that? Anyway, so... yeah. Here's Vader and an R2-D2 and it beeped. But, yeah, I cut out the sound. So, and here is Celebrity Row. This is where the actual celebrities were hiding. And where Gates McFadden and Troy had left, and you couldn't see them. They were gone. The others, the pictures were kind of expensive. You know, been out of the TV, these programs for 20 years. They shouldn't charge like $60. They just shouldn't. I mean, come on. Some of these people are coming out from as far away as the East Coast, maybe even other countries. It shouldn't be that expensive. But I guess they got to run the convention. So, But yeah, so it was sort of like an early Fanime here at the convention. And we're coming up to the end of all of that, and here we have a child battling a alien cosplayer person. And here we have a news crew from Channel 5 and me getting in the way of their news shot. So tonight on Channel 5, Kal Kat's in the background walking along with a cell phone camera. Right on. Okay, so there you go. That's today. But yes, yes, Silicon Valley Comic-Con. Yes, and then we'll go to the convention floor, follow them around. I went to the horror hosts. The horror hosts were there. They were hidden away, and they were in row 2 near the back. Not on the other side. And I talked with the son of one of the horror host current guys, who is probably 10 years younger than me, I would guess. Maybe 15 years younger than me. He was talking about that his daddy knows all that stuff, and he'd come over later and talk to him. Yeah, so I was talking about the Milpitas Monster and Robert Burrow and stuff like that. He was impressed that not only was I knew who Robert Burrow was, but that I had done a review of his movie on my channel. My other channel had done a review. We'd done it twice, actually, and we went down to all the sites where they filmed the movie and saw them today, with the exception of Ayer High School, which I did not, I only got like snippets of, because it's actually a school. It's Cal Hills now, and you can't really go there with a video camera and film the school. Yeah, so I didn't do that. I also did not film the actual house addresses of the houses from the movie, and the city hall is different. But I did go to the streets and places and Google mapped some of the stuff, of which some people objected to, that it was just a Google map in many places, including the school. But that's because we couldn't actually, I didn't have permission. Go there without permission. Also, there was talk of why the video channel, the Kal Kat channel, and many other video channels don't have the actual footage from films that they're reviewing because of the music bots that come up and flag us from putting up, even though it's fair use to put up a review. That's what they do. Even though it's fair use, these music companies and things freak out about piracy, even though it's not piracy, it's a review, and they don't want you putting up. So I'm assuming you're going to put this over the convention walkthrough thing as I ramble on about other stuff. Seeing convention people, I had a couple of slices of pizza at a pizza place, and the Pizza My Heart next to San Jose State. I was looking for the hot dog place, and it's barely gone. Been replaced by yet another taqueria. Like, they need 3 of those within walking distance. I guess they do. Next to the tattoo parlor. So then they know the Pizza My Heart, and there was a lady dressed like one of those Rocky Horror / dominatrix people in there, but she was very kind of skinny, and I didn't get any pictures of her, but she was not anyone that I knew of. Wouldn't think so. But I did know of somebody that was in the Rocky Horror simulcast from the original cast of behind the scenes of Star Trek Chimera and the game and the church, who was in the Rocky Horror. This was not her. I think she was elsewhere, somewhere else at the convention. It's not her. So that was odd. I also saw this time, and I wasn't the only one. I saw a man dressed as some sort of. I think he was trying to be the ice guy from Batman and Robin, or some other form of ice soldier guy, Terminator dude. But apparently, this if I'm just going to describe this scantily clad woman who was wearing practically nothing in dominatrix suit, there was a man that was equally dressed in the same fashion. Not as a dominatrix, but as a robot, frozen robot character. And he was not wearing any pants. So you could see his ass cheeks. Like, how the heck did he sit down? Well, if he had to go to the bathroom, he wouldn't need to pull him down. But, oh my god. So his chiplets. His ass. It's nasty. Well, it wasn't just, I guess it was just his hair down there. I didn't even get a close look because that's nasty. But yeah, I saw a dude with, exposing his ass. Yeah, so, that was not for the kiddies out there. There were plenty of, parents and children comic book nerds. It is a little known fallacy of logic to assume that comic book nerds do not get laid. You go to these conventions, they clearly did get laid, because many of them do in fact have children. So they must have done something to accomplish this, possibly with other comic book nerds. Also, there's of course your slew of famous people there on hand and costume people. Also, Channel 7 News was there, and they were filming out there in the street. And if you look at the news broadcast tonight, you will see a brief snippet of Kal Kat going by behind the news truck. Yes, twice, as a matter of fact. So check that out, and you'll enjoy that. But yes, awesome. So they'll probably cut it out. But, yeah. And also there was a costume scene where there was I was in there too. So that's, I guess that's the wrap. That's the whole thing. I mean, this is, you can put this up over the whole deal of this second day. Yes, on the way home from the convention, there was on the street going down the street, there were also drivers that apparently saw Fast and the Furious and were in a big hurry, so they were doing crazy driving things they shouldn't be doing too. So yeah, so it was like that all the way home too, as well, from the train station. Anyway, so got nothing else really. Here's your review, I guess, such as it is, and we'll see you tomorrow for the closing moments of the sophomore San Jose Comic-Con, Silicon Valley. And the schedule was hard to find. The rooms were hard to find again. But having been to the other one, the Fanime ones, I was able to get some clout to find the rooms. Yes, which was not easy. Also, it was kind of sad that some of the lesser Star Trek people, like Crosby and McFadden, had left their place because they weren't getting many autographs. And, and they were charging too much for the regular ones. I mean, like, the show's been off the air since, like, 1994, and the movies, 92. It's funny they mentioned, well, not enough people went out to see Nemesis, got canceled. We had 3.5 movies. But yeah, and they're not going to be in the next Star Trek, Abrams stuff. But one of the fans was complaining about television, and he said that they're going on about television, to which I thought, well, they were talking about episodic TV, and now it's different, and they have less episodes, and they're going to put it online and all that. Apparently, he hasn't read the press kits for Star Trek Discovery, and should, because that would answer his questions. The new Star Trek will be online on All Access Discovery, and so far it looks like Jonathan Frakes is not going to reprise any Riker role on Discovery. Though if he had to direct, maybe I could direct an episode. That'd be kind of cool. Yeah, so maybe. We'll see. He could, yes. He wasn't opposed to it. But appearing on it, probably not. Because that would be weird, unless it was time travel and somehow Riker goes back. And of course, some fan wanted to retcon the whole thing and pretend Abrams didn't happen, and TNG's still around. And although the Kal Kat fan film does do the Prime Universe like that guy was suggesting, it wasn't me. Someone else did it. It's not canon. So, fan film is not canon. You can make your own fan film and make that canon if you want to in your own mind. That's cool. Head canon, as they say on Trek Core. Anyway, that is Comic Con Silicon Valley. A recap. Live long. Prosper. Spa. Yep. Greetings. This is a review of Silicon Valley Comic Con Day 3. Final day of Silicon Valley Comic Con between roughly 10 and 3 today. The final day constituted a new cast and crew coming on board too. There were more people there. Probably a little less than Saturday, but thousands of them, so it was fine. I'm going to play the slideshow and then discuss the recap. So you're going to see the slideshow first. I'm going to play a little bit of what's already there. I'm going to skip to the part where, well, of course, there was audio in the background. So we're going to skip to right after I'm discussing the building, the venue, and from there. Silicon Valley Comic Con Day 3, Sunday. Yeah, so this is the theater that we get off at. Yeah, gonna go check that out. So, see you there. Okay, so we're at the con and Day 3, and there's the thing. And over here is the Flash panel this morning. The new TV show, The Flash. It's been on for like 2.5 years. Haven't seen any of it, so no interest in going in and seeing a show I have not seen. I totally should Netflix it and go on a binge watch and watch it, but I haven't done that. So yeah, and they were talking about that yesterday, and apparently they weren't paying attention to Discovery being on All Access. So yeah. Anyway. Okay, here's Kitty Key, the martial sportist, who decided to show up and discuss the Kitty Key, the martial sportist outfit. And also he's wearing the Chimera fan film jacket, which is surreal, and the master belt. So, talking about the convention thing about the Flash that I didn't go into. I know we got some audio. I'm just going to keep going. Yeah, so there was a lot of feed people in line. What was going on here is that basically I didn't need to get in line because the line was going to open anyway, and I was just getting into different lines and getting out of them, and because I could, and there's nothing else to do. I knew they were all going to go in eventually, so no point in waiting later, right? I had a 3-day pass, and I was good to go. But yes, so, and then we have some R2-D2s and other cosplayers. Less costumes. There were a lot, but there were less. It's not Fanime. It's Big Wow. Not Big Wow either. It's Comic-Con. I keep saying Big Wow and Fanime because it's kind of similar. Yeah, the overall story going on, people in different lines and things. Where this, a minor internet celebrity, very minor. And here I was just wandering around. And here's some more audio stuff with a little audio, which we can use because there's no music. The characters. Oh yes, the infamous Dark Flash.
Took his head off.
It was not Black Panther's Dark Flash, and Dark Flash has apparently dismembered the Flash and cut his head off, which I thought was actually pretty funny. but yes, that's what that was about. And then we cut to the Comic-Con author panel, the author story panel, which we discussed the author panels at BayCon before. But here is the sequel, in which they've gone over to Comic-Con, and they advise going to other author panels in the future that are coming up around the same time as Fanime. So be there for what most likely for them as well. And then we come to some more onto the dealer's floor near the horror hosts and talking to the authors on the panel as well. We did not interview them for the show. They're higher rank than the show. There's no point in me interviewing them. But so walked around the different places and venues. There were less of the direct costume stuff, less of the comic show, but there were people around looking to buy things on the final day, and they were making more money. They were buying lots of things on their final day. And they came from all over the place. There was a lady that came from Alaska, mentioned it at a tea house afterward. There was some people that have come from Pennsylvania and other parts of the world from yesterday. There were fans from all over, and other countries even come to it. There's some Indian people there and some Egyptians and stuff. And so, and Asians from other countries. So there was a whole group of people from some kind of a local fashion show thing. I didn't get footage of that because it was copyrighted, but they were at the coffee shop. They had their outfits. They were some kind of the mirror. They were part of the outside festivities. They were these pink mirror dressed up things, girls. And, they were dressed up in these pink things. Yeah, girls. Anyway, so the story keeps going on, and we have Growly Cat in the background, and yes, Growly Cat. So and I'm gonna keep growing, because we have more to show you at Comic-Con here going into more detail as we come to the end of that part of the show, and then cut to other things. So everybody was pretty cordial, I guess. And here we come to more. The lunch, mentioning lunch, having gone to lunch, I'm going to go to lunch. Yeah. And the panel, I mentioned the panel, self-publishing panel, and I'm just talking over myself, which is bizarre. And I mentioned one of the names. BayCon from years ago. Yeah. So that is somebody that knew of the stories, actually. So actually, this Martian scene, it's not David Weber, that's another guy. It's Andy Weir. But Andy Weir, Martian. David Weber was someone else from Bacon 2015, I think. Yeah, it wasn't the same guy. Or 2014, Wonder Woman panel. Yeah, 2015 was the Wonder Woman one, and that's my Back to the Future car thingy. I have to do that every year when there's a Back to the Future car there, because sure, why not? So here's some shots in front of the DeLorean. I've come back from the future wearing that getup. That's pretty funny. So here we have. As Kitty Key is desperate to plug his character that has no backstory. Well, he's going to have a backstory, actually. Kitty Key is going to get his very own story, made from the pages of Bushido, his very own story. He appears briefly in some scenes and pertinent to the Chimera, not Chimera, Starship Location books. He's in there as a character, and we're going to see his story in the other one. We're going to find out his origin from there. That should be fun, because he needs his own book, because he's Kitty Key. Because why not? Milk that story to death until people just have to listen to it. I put together stories because I think they're fun. So, yeah. Not because someone else might think they're fun. So, we'll worry about that later. Yeah. So, yeah, there's Spider-Man. And, so lots of Iron Men there, lots of characters from Rogue One and Star Wars, lots of anime characters. There's a few Guardians of the Galaxy characters, other figurines and things from pop culture, and some furries. There was a sort of dragon manga character that is probably supposed to be Figment from Pony. He's photographed later. Or he's someone else. He's some other. I don't know enough about it to know what it is. But here we have some characters from Halo or something, possibly some Halo. It looks like somebody from the X Job Club years ago was in that shot there. Yeah, and he probably was that guy, still dressed doing that same thing. Probably was him, but we did not give out his name. And here we have a Slimer and the Ninja Turtle. So I saw Ernie Ray Jr. again. Said hi to him. Second time I've seen him. And something to the effect of, yeah, it's like, I already have lots of autographed pictures of you and stuff, and I'm going to hang out with you. So, yeah? Why are you over here, Rick? No. He liked the Kitty Key outfit. It's funny. But yeah, he didn't say anything, but he's probably thinking, that's not a real black belt. No. it's from, I bought it on Amazon. It's not a real. I don't wear the real one. No, you're like, it's an imitation. As a costume, it's a costume. But yes, I was. Nobody walked around and said, "Who is this character?" either. So they knew. He's actually. Now we're outside. Kitty Key is actually. That costume with the red shirt is loosely like one of the either the Street Fighter characters or the Ronin characters. So they just figured he's just that. He's not, but he's that. It was cool that the hoodie jacket, TNG style hoodie jacket, was repeated several times. Some of them in blue, some of them yellow, some of them red, like the colors. That was neat. And then we went on to the street fair, or I went on to the street fair, and I was out on a street fair and actually did get a shot of the alien. We're done. So yes. Yeah, I'm not going to be rambling on as long as last time, because today was shorter and not as tired and did other things. So this was the final day. Mainly, one panel, like I did yesterday. Yesterday was a panel on science fiction, SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. This one was more about authors and author writing panel thing. After which there was quite a lot of discussion at the author table of this author group as to regards of writing and putting together stories and things like that. That was after the panel, and there were some interesting guests that were at the con that came to the thing to discuss how they would write a story, and one of them was an example of I don't know who he was, but it was an example of somebody that knows somebody that writes or wants to write, and it has a lot of trouble writing. I won't say what mental illness they had or what issues they had, but they have trouble writing. Their friend did, not them. There was another person that wanted to put out their story, but they were worried that someone would steal it. And there was another person also that echoed that. The authors, including Andy Weir, pretty much said flat out in the panel, at least, that no one really wants to steal your story. It's that there is nothing new under the sun, and that your story may appear similar to your story. I have often gone on about the similarities some of my stories have had to Star Trek over the years, but they didn't steal my ideas. That's impossible. We're just thinking on the same wavelength. They're just like, this would be kind of cool to do this. It's uncanny, but it is not technically ripping it off. Got some exciting DVDs from some vendors, including some horror stories and Star Wars things, and yeah, that too, yesterday I had gone and around to the Star Trek people, and most of them took off, but I said hi to some of them. Let's see what else. I'll go on about the author thing a little later because I want to get through the whole spiel. Okay. Today I happened to this convention. Today I happened to meet up with Michelle Nichols, who is now 84, and she's very kind of feeble, and she was not doing so hot, but she was at the convention, and so I went over there. I didn't want to pay the $50 for the signed picture, but I did buy a picture. It was already pre-done, you know. And so I got a picture that's pre-done. But yeah. So yeah, a lot of these Trek guys are getting kind of older, you know, long in the tooth, as my Aunt Martha used to say. And so it was good that I got to see Michelle Nichols and comment on her pioneering in Star Trek and all that such. She was overwhelmed by the fan intake, I think, and was getting ready to probably take a nap or something because there were just people everywhere. But yeah, I didn't want to appear overwhelming either. So yeah, I had seen her 16 years ago. The 2002 one, that would have been 16 years ago. Yeah, the combination convention, Star Trek convention 2002 in San Francisco, and with Eisenberg and the guy who plays Icheb the Borg and a bunch of other people were there. But yeah, and some people who are no longer with us were there. I did go over to the horror host panel again, and I got some horror host stuff. You know, the local authors and the horror hosts, and there's exciting horror host news. Some of them got a gig, and horror hosting is returning to KOFY TV 20 in our local area. So you want to check that out. The Creature Features is going to go back on the air. Just so you know, it's not a dying art because it's back. Creature Features will be back on the air in some form on TV 20 very soon, in weeks. So check that out. That's really cool. So those of you that are night owls, like to sit up and watch a guy hosting and riff tracking sort of a horror movie, go for it. You get to see them looking at old horror movies, the classics, the ghostly ones and whatever. All the classics. And I'm sure that Mark's Cards will like that. The Creature Features is back. The horror host guy, Lord Grodroth, he was saying that he was going to take some of his old videos down, and I said, no, leave them up.
They show what you did originally. It's like, show your old stuff. I've left my old stuff up on some of my channels. I took it down and put it back up because I wanted not only me to see what it was like back then when my early stuff, which wasn't horror hosting, it's reviews and things. It's different, a little different venue, but I thought that it would be cool to like have that up and be able to look back on it and go like, wow, I really did that block really crappy. I was like, oh my god, I was just pointing the camera and not doing anything interesting. Yeah, it's just interesting. So apparently last night they did a big event, and they had I couldn't stay for that, but yes, Danny Crane, Captain Kirk. I didn't see Captain Kirk this time, but yeah. So anyway, yeah, and I met some other there was at the author table. Back to the author table, they were hawking the black hole book. It was a black hole book. I had already bought one. I didn't need to buy two. But last time, and they were really trying to get me to buy more books. But Valerie Finkel was Valerie Finkel, one of the local authors, was there. Originally, when I met this person like 5 years ago, she was at the Baycon, and I thought she was somebody from Evergreen College. She looked just like her. I'm just like her, acted like her. I figured she was this author lady that came to Evergreen and talked. She wasn't, as it turned out. She didn't know anything about the characters from Evergreen, but she looked like her, a lot like her. Which, yeah, another author looked like her. It wasn't her cousin, as it turned out. But yeah, there was this other lady that closely resembled her. She'd actually later on apparently appeared in some of the colleges, but it wasn't Evergreen. But yeah, that started up a dialogue with this character I'm coming across these years. But yes, anyway, so yeah, the panel starts, and then panel, and there was this other group doing a thing. They have a writers' workshop, and this younger gentleman, he asked if he can join their writer panel, and they said no, it was closed. And he's like a little disappointed. I said, well, they didn't invite me in there either. So. But yeah, I'm not on the writer panel. Yeah, I think the what they do on their writer panel is it's a little different, and it's already set how many people. But there's other writer panels that I can join. So yeah, cool. Anyway, so that's pretty much the day. I don't know what that lizard dude was, but that was cool that I saw. That there's a character, furry, with a lizard, furry outfit with a lizard face. Furry pony outfit, lizard face. There's a lot of other goofy stuff. A lot of manga and characters that someone else would recognize. No Charizard this time. Did see somebody that waved at me like it was somebody I know. I don't know. Probably somebody group or college group or something, maybe the church group, something. But they, it wasn't. That was a story. It was someone else. So yeah, this. Oh yeah, and there was a guy who tripped, and he was in a chef costume from South Park. He's big, heavy-set black guy, so he was dressed as chef. And he's all laughing about having tripped, and he's all, well, well, that was all, well, you know what you ought to do is you ought to lapse into that, just pretend you'd, like, faked it, and you ought to just, like, go start singing the chef song, the salty, he's all, oh, the salty balls song, because that's a song from South Park, the character, so I thought that was funny. Yeah, I won't be singing that around the kids. Even though, ironically, on the show, he sings it in front of them. But yes, okay, the thing went off, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, yeah, other than closing comments, editorializing comments, things, I can ramble on incessantly about the craft, just to be all pretentious or something, but basically, I won't. I did discuss the stuff that I wrote. I have published one book under the name Adam Mayer Brown, my real name. I did publish as I was an chief editor and rewriter on my grandmother Estelle Knapp's novel Blessings Deferred,
which we put that out before that, several years before that, in 2005, and this was 2008. The author panel people hope to, and I hope to be seeing as well as them, that by next year, you will see the Distant Destiny series at a table at that convention, and Starcrackers at a table at that convention. That would be awesome. My books there. Well, it probably won't be that one because you got it like months in advance. It'll probably be the one after, but it'll already be a thing. Let's see. We're on the verge of releasing all of my books, so it's going to be awesome. I was working on 4 books at a time. The Starcracker, the Silly Track, the Starship Meets on Location. The Silly Track, 4 books at the same time, polishing them up. So all these other ones are sitting there, and they're just like, they gotta come out. And yeah, so they'll all be out. And I will tell you what's happening in the future about that. My credentials, well, let's see, I got a couple of degrees from San Jose State, one in English and then in journalism. Years later, the journalism one was in the process during the beginning of the Kal Kat show at the same time. You notice that my technique for blogging suddenly got really good by late in the at the end of that. By 2011, that was pretty good. In the Access magazine, that was a little later. Spartan Daily newspaper, school newspaper, over 60 articles, mostly interviewee, pop culture-y stuff. My blogs are mainly tabloidy, and I don't care if they're tabloidy, it doesn't matter. My internship was at a tabloid. I have not been published by an official agent, but I understand that now you get an agent later when they look at some of your stuff and they go, hey, that's cool. I even speculated, well, could you be your own agent? And they're like, wow, that blew their mind. They're like, well, I guess you could. But that'd be kind of risky, I would think. So yeah, that's the only way you could get to publish your own stories and actually have a say. Whereas Mr. Andy Weir gave up all the film rights to The Martian when he had it produced as a movie. It just gave up. I would be happy with giving up film rights to say one of my lesser stories. I could just write a lesser story that's a screenplay and say, here you go. Yeah, sure, film that as a movie. I'll be famous. That'll be cool. So part of the thing with try to get through this quickly. Part of the thing, because I've discussed, you can go look at my Star Trek reviews and Writers Workshop reviews, all the stuff. You can see that juicy stuff if you want to. I don't need to go into all of that, but write often, write as much as possible, and have fun doing it. If you don't have fun doing it, maybe something else is your good hobby. That's it. And and I enjoy writing all the time. So, except for right now, it's kind of cramped up. Writing 4 books at a time. So I don't want to do that for a little bit. But anyway, so that was And if it's really, really hard, if it's like pulling teeth writing, maybe writing's not for you. It was like that with comic books. I tried to write a comic book of the Captain Estriden saga comic book. It's a male lizard hero. It didn't work. I spent so much time on minute details of making this graphic novel, of just the first page of the graphic novel, that it was like, okay, this is not gonna do that. No comic books. Illustrations, someone else can do that. I will be illustrating my own covers for my books, though. And also, they advised that, as a closing, if you go to a self-publisher and they demand you give them more money, and keep hoarding you for more money, it's a scam. Okay. So it's a scam. The self-publisher should not be. They should be paying you. I understand that the vanity press, it's different, and you pay them. But to start out with, they shouldn't ask you for too much to pay them. Over $500 is ridiculous. Don't do that.
I did. Don't do that. Yeah, go to Amazon. Go to the Amazon website. I think they give you clues and pointers and stuff. And self-publish there to start out with. Get your name out. Get your website out. Get your content out. Market yourself really well. You can become a successful writer. I haven't done that quite yet, but that's what they said. Oh. But yes. Anyway, so that's... I'm not going to discourage you from writing. In fact, write more. Write often. Write a lot. And as some of them said, start with the ending first and go to the beginning. That's a good rule of thumb. However, also, if you don't have a decent story, also some of them were confused about some of the covers of their stuff. Not the authors, but other authors, people came by and looked at their covers and thought, oh, that's like Lord of the Rings, or that's like... yeah, I found one of their covers was like, one of their story ideas was like Lovecraft a little bit. And I wasn't saying they were ripping it off. I was just saying, and it was also like The Thing. I wasn't saying they were ripping it off. It could be a different spin on The Thing. That's fine. Or Lovecraft. You can take out, actually, Lovecraft was extremely racist. So you probably want to take out some of that particular author from back in the day. You want to take that stuff out. But the idea of alien, creatures in the Arctic is very cool. Do that. Sure, there's nothing new under the sun. And before I go, let it be known that like even your references and things end up on Star Trek. I was telling one of the story about the odd story of the apple. There was an apple scene. My friends and I had a Star Trek role-playing game in our high school. Have known Hollywood at all. We're all like, it'd be funny if Captain Kirk was like chewing on an apple, like in Wrath of Khan, but more so. And he was like, he took it out of his backpack. He's like, and on Next Generation, Picard gets out the apple, and he's like the very next week. It was bizarre. Picard's got look at the apple. And then to tell the funnier story, I go to see Star Trek 2009, and they show the Kobayashi Maru test, and they got Captain Kirk, and he reaches into a backpack, and he grabs an apple, and he's... And then I said to the author guy, I'm telling you this funny story, and I saw the author, one of the author dudes at the table, at the booth, telling him the story. And I tell him, like, okay, did D.J. Abrams go to high school with us? Because that is, like, spot on what happened in the film. He thought it was funny. So, no. And also I mentioned, because I was there a long time, I mentioned at the panel, and not at the panel, but at their table,